And good evening, everybody. Happy Mother's Happy Mother's Day out there, to everybody. Excuse my voice, Mike. I got a little frog all of a sudden, but I hope everybody's had a great Mother's Day. Welcome to the latest edition of the African American Athlete live stream. I'm Rickey Hampton with my friend and frat brother Michael Roberson. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine, but frog in the throat. I mean, there's all kind of innuendos you can do with that, especially with the AKAs. Bump.
Man, we're gonna have to call a timeout here or something, man.
All right, so yeah, well, for the people that don't realize that their mascot is a frog, like we have a rabbit. So anyway, yeah, things are cool. Of course, there's a lot of sadness here in the Bay Area because of Steph being out, and even though the Warriors looked like they could have taken Minnesota out without Steph, playoff Jimmy was doing his thing, and a couple of bench players actually stepped up. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Minnesota probably should be kicking themselves anyway by game one. When Steph went out, you get blown out. So I think there's still some uncertainty in their minds. Also, the way they went out last year against Dallas. So, I mean, if you really look at it, I don't think any team left in the playoffs are sure of themselves. The defending champs look shaky. Boston, Cleveland, right. The best record in the East, they look shaky. So, Oklahoma City, best record in the West, looks shaky. Denver, we don't know what they're doing. Minnesota looks shaky, and Warriors are hampered and shaky. So, and let's not forget the Pacers. The Pacers, they could be shaky. So, it's no clear-cut favorite. I mean, I know everybody thinks the defending champs, Boston, will get it done, but they're down 2-1. And
well, let's break them all down, man. Let's start by what happened today. And speaking of letting one get away, I thought Denver let one get away at home.
There you go.
Losing to the Oklahoma City Thunder 92-87 after taking a 2-1 lead in the series, winning game two in OKC and winning their first game at home. Now they'll go back to OKC 2-2. So now we got the best of three, Michael.
Right. And OKC they got back. The one thing, the solace they could say is they got back home court. Even though home court hasn't really meant that much, but by the way these teams are playing, because I think when they break down all the records, I think it's 500 for home and away. So talk about mediocrity. I mean, so yeah, it's one of those situations where, they're saying that this is exciting playoffs, but you can also look at it as people are not taking care of business. Is it better when the favorites take care of business, sweep through, or do whatever they need to do, get done quickly? Or is it cool when everybody's playing kind of at the same par? So it's tough.
I think it's a lot more parity in the NBA now than what we are accustomed to. Because you look at Houston, a number 2 seed, they're out. They got beat by Golden State, a 7 seed.
Right, number 3 is out. The Lakers.
The Lakers are out.
Yeah.
Cleveland lost their first 2 games of the conference final of the semifinals to Indiana, a number 4 seed. I agree with you, Mike. It's just something's missing here. Something is missing.
Right. And really, if you look at it, you don't have. I mean, everybody wants to put Joker as the preeminent star of the league right now, but even he looks mortal. SGA, he's had some stinkers. And then, of course, go to Jason Tatum, who, for some reason, when he gets to the playoffs, decides that, I don't really know how to play anymore, or, maybe I'm not one of the top 5 players in the league. And he gets into those playoff modes. I mean, they're down first 2 games in Boston. I mean, they're another team that's schizophrenic where they can't even win at home, but they can go on the road and look unbeatable. So that's what I'm saying. Is that it's just hard to really figure out who's going to be the team to get it done.
You know what? I think some of it. I, I think some of it is the 3-point shooting that's going on in the league. Teams are taking way too many 3-point shots. Now, if you're going to shoot 40%, go ahead. But a lot of times, they're not even shooting 30%. Boston, they shot 60 3-pointers the other day. What do you think? Red Auerbach's probably.
Exactly. Red Auerbach and Bill Russell.
And Bill Russell, man.
And, let's go back to, the players that are still around. Larry Bird, one of the best shooters in the history of basketball. I'm sure he'd be like, come on, man, this is just too much.
It's too much. And
it's just too much.
And you get a 15, 20-point lead is nothing. It is nothing. You go down and have 2 or 3 empty possessions, and they hit a couple of 3. It's under 10 already.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you know what? And like for me to see that in person, it was funny. And I actually talked to Steph about this. So back in the day, before Giannis was a diva, the Bucks played out here in Oakland against the Warriors, and they were down 1, right? Steph came out, boom, 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 3 straight the threes, up 10 that quick. Yeah. Less than a minute, I said, man, this is. I mean, even though we saw the NBA change, the NBA changed. If you are a real veteran and watching the NBA changed when the 4 teams from the ABA came in, because that not only did 4 teams come in, but there was a huge influx of talent, and that was displayed in that All-Star game in Milwaukee. Which, once again, I still can't believe, Adam Silver, that Milwaukee hasn't hosted an All-Star game since 1977. And that was the preeminent moment where the amalgamation of all this star talent, came to be in the mid-'70s. Then, of course, everybody wants to credit 79 after that still most watched NCAA game between Michigan State and Indiana State, where Bird and Magic come in. So people want to give that as the rebirth of the NBA. So be it. So I would say from 76 on, it was a different NBA, and it was a real spectacular one. And, of course, 79, the 3-pointers came in. But they weren't utilizing it that much back then. I mean,
might shoot 8 and 9. You shoot them if you were down and you were desperate.
Right. Yeah, but Chris Ford made the first one. Little did he know that he started a ridiculous thing that his former team would end up shooting 63 pointers in a playoff game and still lose the game because they did a terrible job of mismanaging their shots. Throwing some 2s in there. I mean,
then they had 20-point leads in both those games.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, you just can't have that.
Right. And that's the thing about it is that, when you get some of these millennials that will sit there and say, well, basketball is better now. They're more athletic. That's a lie. That's the cap. Say. Then, they shoot better. I mean, I was just watching some guy, and I got to give this guy credit. Some guy on the internet put up a video montage of Freddie Brown, what he did in the 1980 playoffs against the Lakers when he was with Seattle. And I said, see, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, we got to stop making this this whole grandiose announcement that somebody's the greatest of all time because they done this. So I'm like, so you're saying Steph is the greatest shooter of all time because he has the most? So then why wouldn't we call Reggie Miller the greatest guard of all time when he had the most, or Ray Allen? Same thing with Super Bowls. when they say once Tom Brady hit 5, he's the greatest of all time. But we have already said that our defensive tackle had 5 Super Bowls. Nobody was trying to say he was the greatest player of all time. Then it's all about, well, hey, Michael's undefeated in the championship. Tom Brady's got some losses, so why isn't Terry Bradshaw? He's 4-0. Nobody ever brings him up, even though I don't care for him anymore after some of the nonsense he said. Totally towards Tomlin and black quarterback. But I'm just saying, Montana and those two are undefeated, but yet they say Tom Brady's the greatest, even though he has 3 losses. So that's what I'm saying about they move the goalposts when we talk about who's the greatest. So, do you go by percentage? I mean, you had somebody like Corver had the best percentage in history. Mark Price, you forget about how great of a shooter he was. So I think too many people are in the moment, and it's too easy and lazy to just say, well, anybody that's doing something now is the greatest of all time, which is ridiculous.
It's recency bias. It'll be people 50 years ago, 50 years from now looking back, oh, these guys weren't doing anything back here in the 2020s. History seems to work itself out like that. But as you look at this playoff, Mike, is it a team you think is going to rise from all of this?
Well, like I said, I keep thinking that Boston's going to emerge from this malaise, but like I said, they keep throwing out these stinkers. I'm like, come on, man, what are you guys doing? And then I'm thinking like Cleveland should get it together. Remember, they had 3 players that were out, though. They had 3 players that were out when they lost those 2 games at home, which you still shouldn't be losing. But they had 2 players out, 3 players out, so they came back and then they did get the win. So they can write their course. They can say, okay, now we got all our guys in here, we're gonna get it done. So everybody's expecting a collision course with Cleveland and Boston to really see who's gonna represent the East. As for the West, Oklahoma City may have emerged as the favorite to come out of the West now, but they could also lay another egg in OKC Game 5. So that's what I'm saying is that they haven't looked good yet, even though it's 2-2. But it's been basically, all right, we can have one guy make a miracle shot in this game. We can have a team blow a lead within a minute on the other team. So who's really taking control of the series? So as of now, on paper, OKC has the control because they have home court. But as I said, each one has lost on their home court. So it's, what are we really doing here? What's really happening, and who is really in control there? As for the other Western team, we don't know what Minnesota's going to do. Minnesota should have the advantage with the star player for Golden State out, but I don't think they can handle prosperity. So, so I would think if I don't want to use the gun to the head thing, but if I had my druthers or had my if I had money on it that I had to make a decision, I would say OKC should emerge out of the West, and Boston probably should emerge out of the East. But, anything can happen just the way they're playing. Nobody, once again, is like head and shoulders over the thing. Like if we go back to 2001, when I told you how the Bucks got jerked around in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Lakers take care of business in the Western Conference. They just rolled through. They were undefeated. There was no doubt that the Lakers were going to represent the West. The East, you thought it was going to be Philly, but Philly had some fumbling. Philly should have lost to Toronto. Remember the whole controversy with Vince Carter going to his graduation? That was that game. So he goes down to North Carolina because his mama told him to, and happy Mother's Day to his mother. But he went down to his graduation, then he flew back, like a pro can do. You can have private jets and all that. He gets back, and he has a chance to shut everybody up. They said, man, you're not even concentrating, or you're not being a real professional. You can get your degree, whatever. You can have your mother accept it. Come on, man. You got to worry about the team. So he had an opportunity to shut everybody up. He had the last-second game-winning 3 right in his hands and missed it. Instead, Philly would have been knocked out at that moment. They won and still held the home court advantage in the Eastern Conference. So of course I'm sitting there going like, oh man, the Bucks could have had Eastern the number one seed then. So I'm upset about that. And then it comes to be that Philly made it to the finals. So that's one of those situations where that's what everybody expected, Philly and Lakers to match up, but it really absolutely could have been the Bucks. And the Bucks were actually undefeated against not only the Lakers, but the top four in the Western Conference. So it might have been a whole different setup at that time.
I keep looking at this Minnesota team, and because for like 5 or 10 minutes, man, they'll look like, wow, they got everything. And then the next 10 minutes, it's like, is this a junior high team?
Right. Well, and what makes it even worse is that you got their star player talk so much trash, but still hasn't really lived up to it. Let's think about it. All that trash you talked last year, KD, I'm misusing you. You're my favorite player, but I'm dogging you out. Then Joker, I'm dogging you out. As soon as they go play Dallas, you say, all right, I want Kyrie. Kyrie worked him. And then all of a sudden he started questioning his own abilities. Like, yeah, I think I got tired. You don't admit that out in public. So he still has to redeem himself for that. And then now in this round, you're going through, or you beat the Lakers, so you get to talk trash again. But then all of a sudden, as soon as you play Golden State at home, you lose. And you lose with them losing their star player, Steph Curry. So that's what I'm saying, that I don't really trust them. And he's the real reason why I don't really trust him, because he's one of those guys that he's writing a check that's behind won't be able to cash. You know what I'm saying? So all these old grandma tales and cliches is applicable to him as of now until he gets them over the hump. And if not win a whole championship, at least get to the finals.
Well, Mike, at the top of the hour, we got Cleveland and Indy. They're in Indy. Indy won those first two and just got run over at the crib the other night. So they're still at home. Got a chance to go up 3-1. I think I'm looking at this now. It looks like the Cavaliers may get Hunter back tonight. So that's a big pickup for them. Donovan Mitchell has not shot the ball well. Had a good game the other night. But I think you're right. More importantly, Cleveland got some of their guys back for Game 3 the other night. So they'll have Garland back in the lineup tonight. And he is the main one because he runs their offense.
Right. And here's the thing about it. So earlier in the year, the Cavs only come out here once, of course. The Cavs were playing the Warriors, and they won. And at that time, they were like just dominating the league, And I asked Atkinson, I said, hey, Coach, are you worried about peaking too soon? And he gave me a good answer. And I was going to play that video if they would have somehow got knocked out. I said, you know what? Maybe they did peak too soon, because you cannot have this kind of performance in the finals and you won 64 games. This is almost embarrassing. I mean, not in the finals, in the playoffs. So we'll see if they respond to that. But at the time I talked to Garland, Mitchell, and like I said, Atkinson. And they were all, of the mindset that we're playing enough players that we won't be, kind of shell shocked when we get to the playoffs, that we did all this during the regular season, but didn't have the wherewithal to get it done during the playoffs. But then, you have Garland and a couple other players out, and then you would hope you'd be able to survive at home without them. And then if they come back in time for the road game, then maybe you can get it done. But no. And then they lost on just wacky plays too. I mean, Halliburton, a step back 3 after he missed the free throw. I mean, come on, man. You lose like that, you almost got to think that you're snake bit. And then they lost the other game that they blew. So Cleveland has to know that they're playing well, but they're not taking care of business. And half of winning a championship is being able to close out a game. I mean, look at the Lakers against Denver. Each series that they played Denver, it looks like, oh, man, they dominated those guys. They have no answer for them. They blew every game in the fourth quarter. So that's one of those situations where you can go back and look and say, okay, do we blame that on LeBron running out of gas? Did our coaches not get it done? I mean, if you think about it, you know, they were so hasty to get rid of Darvin Ham, he took them to the Western Conference Finals. JJ, they're out the first round with Luka after that acquisition, and then, you know, making Dallas like an idiot and all this stuff. It really didn't work out as well as they thought it was. And then, of course,
they made the trade. They made the trade for Luka for down the road. You can't tell me the Lakers run a better team with Anthony Davis than Luka.
Well, but here's the thing, though. See, like I said, you know, if you want to do something for down the road, then why do that when you got a guy that maybe got a couple years left? You're trying to win now. So if you need this move for down the road, you kind of mess your own self up, because we still haven't seen if Luka could lead a team anywhere. I mean, yeah, they give him credit for going to the finals last year, but how much of that was Kyrie?
Well, it was both of them.
Right.
But speaking of LeBron, do you think he's coming back next year?
Well, I just can't see him going out, being eliminated in the first round, and not having like a world tour. I would think that if he does think he's done, he'll come back one more year and say, okay, I'm done this year, so he can get all the, you know,
do a Dr. J.
Yeah, like Dr. J did in '89, Kareem in '89. So like those guys did, and you know, get your love and all that stuff, because, you know, this may be the greatest player ever, and to go out like that in the first round to some trash talking guys that don't even know how to win themselves, and as soon as they go to the next round, they forget all that pizzazz they had, disappeared. I mean, Gobert having a 20-20 game. Come on, man. They
didn't have size. That's why I said they were better. They were better with AD.
Well, yeah, but let's not forget, AD didn't help things by saying, "Yeah, I don't want to play center, and we need a center." And then all of a sudden, they
but he would get in there and do it.
Maybe you're expendable.
He would get in there and do it.
And then,
of course, think about AD.
Let's not forget, Ricky. When they did win, they had Dwight Howard and JaVale. They had big men. So that meant
you still need size in this league.
That's what I'm saying. But they shouldn't. Why did you get rid of him? Caruso might be in the finals.
I think they make the move for, you know, down the road 5 years from now. How old is Luka? 26.
Luka may be burned out by then. I mean, you ain't sit there and try to look at the future and all that stuff, especially when a guy has some, you know, even though he can look good regular season wise and has some playoff moments, but there's still some hiccups in his game that I'm like, you really gonna bet your whole franchise on that? And when you should be trying to get a guy to win right now, while you got maybe the greatest player of all time right there. So that's the thing I don't like. Is like, you're changing of the guard right in the midst of this.
But Luka's 26 years old. That's the whole story.
But he plays like he's 35.
Yeah. Well, you're right. They're taking a chance on him, but I mean, I understand why they did it. I didn't like it. I knew they were not going to be as good. I knew that hole in the middle was going to show up. Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. They weren't big enough. But it'll be interesting to see what LeBron does. I think you're right, Mike. I think he'll do a tour, man. He certainly deserves it.
Exactly.
I would hope he would, want to get his flowers. I mean, the guy's been the face of the league. He is the, and I've said this before, you've heard me say it, he is the template of the 21st century athlete. If you want your kid, be like this guy.
Mhm.
He's made all the right moves on and off the court, business wise, with his play. Teammates love him. He's active in his community. Man, yeah, bro, don't leave us yet. Come back and get your. None of that. I mean, ain't like he's just limping around. He's still average like 25 and 8 and
Right.
10.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, see, for me, when I saw Luka come over there, everybody's like, "Oh, well, this is Luka's team right away." I'm like, "What has Luka shown that he can supersede LeBron? Like that, LeBron's still leading this team." Oh, well, And then remember when he was out, they still weren't getting it done. They were like just kind of like middle of the road, and then they finally started to click again and got up to the 3 seed. But that was kind of like fool's gold because they did not look like a 3 seed when they played against Minnesota. And then, of course, Ant-Man's doing all this self-deprecation, like, "Whoa, everybody thinks they're going to win anyway, so, we're not that good," using that reverse psychology. And then they go out there and smoke these guys because, once again, when Luka did have his best game 1, he had 1 assist. I'm like, that's not the Luka that we saw over in Dallas where he was not only getting points, he's getting assists. So what's the reason now? Well, he doesn't have those type of players that he had in Dallas where he could throw the alley-oops and all that stuff. I'm like, well, then why did we bring him over here? So that's the thing I'm saying is that, yeah, you could be a volume player in points and in assists if a system is set up for you. Now you got 2 people that need a system. So that's why, once again, a lot of people just say, I don't like this trade because these two kind of play the same type of game.
No doubt about that. Yeah.
Will that work?
And one thing people get caught up, oh man, this guy averaged 30 points a game. The worst team in the league. Let me see. Who was the worst team in the league this year? I'll tell you in just a sec. The worst team in the league, Washington Bullets, were the worst team in the league. They average 108 points a game. So somebody gonna get 20 points a game.
Well, probably Jordan Poole.
Yeah, on the worst, because you get 20 a game, man. That don't mean you doing anything, bro. So yeah. But
that's the thing about it is that, styles, like they say, styles make fights. Also, style makes a basketball team. So, I mean, they look good in spurts, but overall, when it comes down to the playoffs, things slow down. You got to be able to play defense. And then
you're in San Francisco. You saw the impact Butler had on
the
Warriors.
Well, and I got
because they come on so late. I don't get to see a lot of them. I just can't stay up that late no more.
Right. Well, yeah. The thing about it is that
what did he bring to them?
Well, the aura of his defense, and then being able to turn it on whenever he needs to, and then it seemed like it was a great connection with Steph. It seemed like it revitalized Steph because everybody was like feeling sorry for Steph, like, oh, he's gonna go another year without really doing anything with this team. They're stuck in mediocrity. They were like 10th or 12th or something like that before Jimmy got there. Then all of a sudden it just seemed like it was they shifted to a different gear. The defensive intensity improved, and a lot of that was because of Jimmy. And Jimmy was not only able to lock people down on defense and help the whole team defense, he was able to score buckets when he needed to. And he also didn't come in there saying, I'm going to be the man. He called himself Robin, and he said, I love that man, Batman. So psychologically, he was the perfect teammate because he made sure he wasn't going to come there and ruffle feathers. Remember, as soon as KD got there, they automatically said, KD's the man. We had to go through that whole mess about, oh, man, whose team is it? And then, hey, Steph didn't even get the MVP before KD got there. You know he wasn't going to get it while KD was there. So is Steph really the man? And did he mess up his own legacy by letting KD just come in there and bogart it? So that's the thing about that is that Jimmy came in with a whole different mentality, and then also his aura of leading Miami to the finals twice. So he had that, and then it just seemed to click well with the way Kerr does his system. So things just really clicked well when they got together. Lakers, it was like kind of like a roller coaster. It looked good for a minute, then it goes down and it goes back up, and that's how it was. They went up, got to a high, and they said, "Hey, you're the 3 seed," and you guys maintain that. But as soon as the playoffs hit, it was like, maybe this isn't a good mix right here. And once again, that failed physical really destroyed their hopes. The one big man that they thought was going to really be helpful, you know.
And that was the problem, boy. So
right.
If they had Williams, they still be playing. They would still be playing. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. And I don't know what it was because Williams went on and finished he finished the regular season. So.
I know. And then when you get the young kid back, the sharpshooter, for some reason he didn't even play. It was almost like we messed up on the trade, and then when we get our assets back, we don't even utilize it. So I don't know what kind of nonsense JJ and he had, because I thought, well, hey man, he might come back feeling salty, but then when he came back the first couple games, he was hitting a shot. I said, okay, maybe they can utilize him in the playoffs. You know, when the offense slows down, he can hit those shots. But all of a sudden, he was on the bench, and the only big man they had didn't even play, even though Gobert is killing him. He refused to put him in the game. I'm like, dude, you're a rookie coach. You don't need to be, you know, and I don't want to use any wrong metaphors here, but you don't need to be trying to show how much of a man you are in your rookie year as a coach by saying, well, I said I'm not going to play this guy, and under any circumstance, I'm not going to play him. Dude, you have to adjust. That's how Steve Kerr won that first championship. They adjusted. Even though Kyrie, Kevin Love weren't there, the Cavaliers are up 2-1 with Dellavedova. Once Dellavedova had that scenario where his energy was zapped and he had to get on IV, then all of a sudden Steph felt the handcuffs were let off and he got to be more free. And then the whole Iguodala switch, once again, Kerr making an adjustment, and he put Iguodala in there, and it seemed to change the whole spirits of the team. So that's how you win championships, by making adjustments. Not this, well, I'm going to use analytics, and I'm going to feel like, hey, we could do better without Jackson Hayes or without any other player, our rookie shooting star. We can win without those guys. Because we're going to play small ball, but we're going to be smart with it because we got these 2 nuclear weapons. And I'm going to do something real idiotic is play the whole 5 that I have to start the second half, the entire 30 minutes. I mean, the entire 24 minutes. So,
yeah, that was...
He made some crucial errors trying to be using bravado, and that's not what you do as a rookie coach. And I would say the same thing with a guy that they overrate right now, Spoelstra. I think Spoelstra did some nonsense like that because nobody wants to admit this, because LeBron was leading the way the whole time. Then when they got to the finals, they wanted to use that heat culture and say, let Wade take over in the finals. And that turned out to be a disaster. And then who was the scapegoat of that whole thing? Oh, look at LeBron having a meltdown. I said, you guys even know the nuance of that whole scenario? And nobody wants to admit that, but that they messed that up with this whole heat culture nonsense and Pat Riley. And then all of a sudden the next year they said, hey, you know what? This needs to be LeBron's team. We got to let go of it Wade counted. And then they went 2 in a row.
Well, hey, we got the draft lottery tomorrow. The Cooper Flag lottery. Utah, Washington, and Charlotte all have a 14% chance of winning the lottery, and right behind them, the New Orleans Pelicans have a 12.5% chance to win the lottery. And looks like Cooper Flag is going to be the number one pick in most people's eyes. The kid out of Rutgers, Harper. Hey, is that Ron Harper's son? Dylan Harper?
It might be. I know he has a son playing, but I can't remember where he's playing. But then again, sometimes
I'm gonna check that
you
out.
messed up because I remember there was one player that had a similar last name to another player. So no, that's not his son. So I'm like, okay. So you got to be careful. But I know his son is playing somewhere.
Yeah, I'm actually typing it in now. Your thoughts on Flag and
Well, here's the funny thing about Flag. So of course, I've been covering the local teams out here, and they were in the Pac-10 when I first got out here, and then they segued to the Pac-12. Now, last year was their inaugural season in the ACC. Unfortunately, because there's so many teams in each conference, you have a lopsided schedule. You don't have the home and home. So he didn't come out here to the Bay Area. So, but yeah, when I saw him play, though, he looked good. Then he had the injury right during the conference playoffs, and he said, "Oh, he might not come back from there." Then he came back, and then they played in the tournament, and they did okay, but then they got knocked out, even though people thought that they had a chance to win the national championship. So it's one of those situations where he looked awesome in college, especially in his first year, was the player of the year. So he did one of those things like KD did and other players where they just totally dominated their first year, which wasn't a thing you could do back in the day, especially during Kareem's time because you couldn't even play your first year. But even during Michael's era and all that, Michael hit that big shot his freshman year, but throughout that whole freshman year, he wasn't really any kind of choice of a player of the year.
Yeah, he only had 17 points a game.
Right. But not only that, nobody really knew his name because the only person everybody's looking at that year was Pat Ewing. They had documentaries on Pat Ewing and all that. Jimmy Black throws that pass to Michael Jordan. It changed his life and the whole basketball world forever. Because Michael hit that shot. And if you really look at that, he really peaked right there, at least for his winning, because the next 2 years, even though he was player of the year his junior year, they failed miserably in the tournament. They didn't win anything. They lost before the Sweet 16, and he had Kenny Smith as his teammate as a freshman, and Kenny got hurt. So those North Carolina teams had a lot of disappointing moments. And if you really look at it, especially during Dean Smith's tenure, the only 2 championships he won was on a real wacky and fluky ending. Think about it. Freddie Brown throws the ball to James Worthy inadvertently because he's supposed to have been throwing it into Pat Ewing. They win that one. Then he wins his second championship with Chris Webber calling the timeout in '93. So that's how Dean Smith got his 2 national championships. And a lot of people said, man, do you have some of the greatest players ever? And this is how you won a national championship with Donald Williams making threes out of his rear end and Chris Webber just making that faux pas. And then this great Georgetown team should have probably beat you, but then you had a point guard had a brain cramp and threw the ball to the wrong guy. So, that's the thing about it is that a lot of people had, like a guy that we had on the show before, Finis Dembo. His greatest moment basketball-wise probably was that one tournament. So that's what I'm saying, that some people will have a magical moment and then you don't really hear anything.
I mean, look at Zion now. He cannot stay healthy.
Right, exactly.
And you know what? It's like New Orleans got a good chance of getting flagged as anybody, 12.5%.
But think about.
And by the way, Dylan Harper is the son of Ron Harper.
Yeah, that's what I had a feeling it was.
he had a brother that played, an older brother that played at Rutgers
Yeah.
from
Okay.
18 to 22, and he
Okay.
came in behind him. So yes.
Okay. I knew I remember that Harper had a son, but I guess apparently he had two sons. But yeah, but back to Flag though, I think of course if he goes to Carolina, that'd be a big deal because he played at Duke and then now he's staying in the state of North Carolina. That would be a great marketing situation. Utah, for various reasons, that'll give them their
Great White Hope.
GWH, yeah, GWH, and then
Great White Hope.
exactly GWH. So then, other than that, wherever he goes, I'm sure they'll try to make him into basically a Caden Clark, where it's like, hey, this guy's gonna change the NBA. Now we don't have to worry about going over to Europe. We got a guy that's homegrown. I think they wanted that with Hero, and then so it's a lot on his shoulders to come into this NBA and be the guy. I mean, Christian Laettner couldn't do it, so we'll see if he becomes the homegrown guy that the NBA has been waiting for a long time.
Hey, Michael, we only got a couple more minutes on the show. I want to kick over to the NFL. Shedeur Sanders had his first practice in a Browns uniform the other day. They had a mini camp for rookies. He was trying to buy number 2 off his number 2 off of wide receiver DeAndre Carter. He said he couldn't afford it because his 5th round bonus check is not that much. But on the field, man, I saw some video of him actually making some really nice throws. And I love the way he's handled this whole thing, man, about going so low after everybody thought he was going to go so high.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is because of his father. His father probably told him, say, look, there's going to be some people taking shots at you because of me. And also, not only because of me as a player and the bravado I had back then, but also me now as a coach, the way I'm doing things in Colorado, how I'm getting these players, people can understand it, how we resurrected Colorado, to a certain extent made Jackson State better. So there's a lot of people that just don't like that. They just, look at all those coaches that was always taking shots at him coaching-wise and, basically saying he had no ability to coach and his players aren't really that good. And then Shiloh also is at a camp now too. So you got Shiloh.
Right, he signed with Tampa Bay today.
Right. So once again, think about it. The last 2 fathers that had sons that were players, they're pretty much getting the last laugh. You got Deion with 2 sons in the NFL, unless that somebody gets cut. And he got LeVar Ball, even though he's going through some health issues now, he still has the satisfaction to get 2 players that were drafted in the top 5. And another one that's not really getting his deal in hooping, but he got a music contract going on. So 3 successful sons, and both of them are basically getting ridiculed just for being black fathers. And since they can't sit there and say, yeah, here we go, another ball player without a father around. Now you got the fathers around, but think about it. Every one of these guys, we can go to Earl Woods, we can go to Richard Williams, we can go to
the Jackson 5 dad.
Everybody, is always taking shots at, well, they're bad dads.
That's a great point. They're too involved, too demanding.
But once again, and I hate to use this example all the time, look how pragmatic Archie Manning is. That guy went through so much drama in New Orleans. He never had a good team. He's such a great player. I mean, look at these sons he raised. You're a great, upstanding citizen. And look how much care he had for Eli, where he made sure Eli ended up in a place that would make him a Hall of Famer.
He did the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. But once again, you got to know your place, boy. Basically, that's what they're saying. Pat you on the head just be thankful we gave you opportunity to
That's
play.
what they said. Yeah.
Right. That man over there deserves to be able to dictate where his son goes because he's an American white man. You should be happy that we even let you play in the league with your smart mouth. And then how dare you think you're going to dictate where your sons go? Just ridiculous. It's
Mike,
ridiculous.
couple more, man. WNBA starting up. Who you like this year? If you had a chance to dig in on that yet?
Well, and here's the thing. There's a new team in the WNBA, and they're out here, the Valkyries. And if you say, how do you pronounce that or spell that? Just think of Val and then Kyrie. Okay? That's how you can think about it. But yeah, Valkyries are a new team, and they're excited out here in the Bay Area. I was surprised they were going to be playing over the Chase Center because I was thinking maybe they would utilize the arena over here in Oakland. But yeah, they're playing in the Chase Center. And matter of fact, they have an exhibition game now on the road. I think they're in Phoenix, but they just had an exhibition game in San Francisco, and there was a big crowd there. Everybody's excited. So a lot of excitement. Yeah, and as for the rest of the WNBA, the Liberty, of course, got back on the map because of Stewie. And then, ironically, when Stewie wins her championship for New York's first time, then UConn finally wins a national championship since she left. They had that long drought since she left. She won 4 national championships in a row, and they hadn't won since she left UConn. And then when she finally wins a championship in New York, their first one ever, one of the original teams, coincidentally, UConn wins. Unfortunately, taking out Dawn Staley, but, it is what it is. And now Paige Beckers is playing with my homegirl Enrique in Dallas. So Dallas will be a team to watch with Paige and Enrique. Vegas is always a team you look for, even though they didn't win their three-peat, just like Kansas City didn't win their three-peat. And then, of course, New York Liberty, being the defending champs, you look out for them. Sparks might be okay. So it's going to be kind of like maybe about 4 or 5 teams you really need to look at. And it's going to be
Caitlin Clark is injured.
Indiana, yeah, exactly.
So we're wondering, she has some kind of leg injury. So they open up on the 17th. What's that? That's next weekend, right? No.
Yeah. The 16th will be the opening day, but yeah, they might not start until a day after. But
yeah, so I'm interested to see what Buchers can do as she transitions to the league. It seems like her game will fit the WNBA style.
All right, yeah, I can already see Enrique likes her because Enrique has been the leading scorer for Dallas, so it's going to be interesting to see how they play off each other. But they just had a top 10 performance by Beckers. She threw a look-away pass and hit Enrique right in the lane, and she laid it up, and I can see the excitement in Enrique's face, like, oh,
so I know that's just another thing for you to cover out there. You cover everything on the Bay, out in the Bay.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I've had some issue with the soccer out here. The soccer team out here, Bay FC, gave me a hard time with the credentials this year. They had some shuffle in the front office, and all of a sudden now it's like, well, I don't know if we can give credentials because we have such a prestigious, scenario. Like, okay, you know what? I've been in this business for nearly 40 years. I'm not kowtowing to that nonsense, and I'm not going to be begging. So you guys are going to just miss out on our audience being a part of that, because that's what it's been here with the Sharks. I had a brother come up to me and said, man, it is so refreshing to see you covering this team here. And then, I can see your hand and your microphone and all that, and I can hear you ask these questions. And it's like, I just feel proud. I'm like, wow. So that's when I say, okay,
watching.
There's people watching, and there's people, just absolutely aware, and they'll know when I'm the one talking there. So, so when I hear stuff like that, and I say, you know what, I appreciate, when I'm covering these teams, but I'm also saying that, look, I'm bringing something to it, and then you're not going to put me in a position that, I got to grovel for it and shuffle for it when you just
Right.
have these people that come maybe 1 or 2 games a year. And you give them carte blanche, and I got to sit here and do that. Like, nah. So
Right.
I still have standards, even though most cases I'm the only one there. But
Right.
I will not, especially when you're probably like this on the totem pole. So as for the WNBA, I should get over there and cover a couple games, but it's kind of a lot of red tape you got to deal with when you go to a game over in San Francisco. You know, with parking and all the other stuff, and traffic. So I got to really feel for it. As a matter of fact, I'll be doing a Giants game next Saturday, maybe. So once again, I got to prepare for that. When they go across the bridge and all that. So it's a lot of stuff. It's not as simple as just, hey, let me just go over to a game in San Francisco. When you live in the East Bay, it's a little.
Do you take the BART over?
Yeah. See, I don't want to badmouth BART on worldwide national airways, but see, because of the way I'm dressed at the games, I'm usually in a suit or something, and I got all my equipment with me. I am not getting on BART or any public transit in the middle of the night.
These days,
no.
I got you.
You run into some
I feel you.
Yeah.
Hey, well, Mike, we're gonna get out of here and catch game 2. Who you
All
like tonight, Indy or Cleveland?
Well, like I said, I think Cleveland may have gotten their mojo back, but
they're in Indy, you know that.
I know, but I'm saying that, but they got their players back, and I thought they were going to be the favorite, in the first place. But I think that they had to say, you know what, we took our bumps, we took our punches, and now we're going to really show why we were the top team in the East. So that's what I'm thinking. But if they do lose, then they're in real big trouble, and they maybe get knocked out. Now, let me throw in a couple other things before we go. So next week, for you soccer fans out there, we got the biggest star in soccer right now. Some people call him the greatest ever. I still say it's Pele. But Messi will be here in the Bay Area next Wednesday. So all you soccer fans, make sure you pay attention to that. And they'll be playing. And I think this is the only team he plays on the West Coast. So there'll be a lot of people gravitating here. And then the other one is, a guy that I wrote about on the website, Evander Kane, is playing with Edmonton. And they lost on one of the most ridiculous plays last night. They were almost up 3-0 on the Kings. I mean, the Golden Knights. But they got a shot that went in. I think it was an own goal with 0.4 seconds left. They had won the first 2 games in Vegas. Looked like they're about to dominate these guys. And they're losing to Edmonton on like a faux pas like that. So, so those are the big things. So Evander could possibly go to 2 straight finals, Stanley Cup finals. And, of course, like I said, he's a guy that I've written about. And hopefully we'll get on the show one day. And this was the weird scenario. He was out the whole regular season, Ricky. He was out the whole regular season. And I talked to their coach, maybe because Edmonton came here at the end of the year. So I think the last game of the season, I was over there talking to Edmonton's coach. I said, well, Evander might come back just in time for the playoffs. How much will he bring to the table? And they said, yeah, we really want him to come back because he really does a lot for us, goal scoring. And he scored about 2 or 3 goals. He's been very instrumental in their run right now. So we'll see. So, of course, they win it all. I'll definitely be writing a column about Evander Kane because he's got to be probably the player I have most gravitation towards because he played here, and then also he's a history maker too. So there's only a handful of them in the NHL, so he's the one I keep an eye on a lot.
Absolutely. Well, for Michael Roberson, I'm Rick Hampton. See you next time. Peace, everybody. Enjoy the games tonight. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yep.